Good morning. Welcome to Just for Today, a time of eclectic reading, sharing of perspectives, meditation, and prayer. I'm Reverend Rafe Ellis, Senior Minister and Spiritual Leader of the newly joined Centers for Spiritual Living Communities of Greater Baltimore and Columbia. Today is December 5th. And this morning I am reading from Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And I opened it up to page 122. And so I'm just going to read the first two paragraphs under the heading, The Power That Is Within You. The power that is within you is the power of your word operated upon by law. This power is not so much a will as a willingness. You will never have to will things to happen. You will merely have to know that they are happening. This law is neutral and impersonal. You are not to think of it as though it were the same thing as spirit, but merely as the mechanical force which you may use for definite purposes. It is within you, and, as the law of cause and effect, reacts to your word. This law is the way or creative medium by which your word is manifested. But this law, as an aspect of God, is an all-powerful medium. So what the heck are they talking about? What is Ernest Holmes talking about? He's talking about the doer within the triune nature. And it's not three separate entities. Triune is the three separate aspects. And so law is exactly that. It is a law of creation. It is natural law, spiritual law. We can call it lots of things. Ultimately, it is that aspect of creation that simply receives the idea, the desire, the mental picture, whatever label we call it, and says yes, because it's saying yes to itself, right? It's not saying yes to us as separate entities. We are made out of this substance that is the triune nature, so we contain the triune nature. And that's where our brain gets in the way sometimes, because our brain experiences the world in separation. And our spirit knows that we are never separate. There's only one of us here. But my brain is challenged to grasp that. And so the whole idea of mental treatment, for me anyway, a huge aspect of that is bringing the two in alignment, bringing that spiritual knower and my brain into alignment with one another. I had to laugh. Years ago, somebody suggested that all of this was some construct of brainwashing. And maybe it is. And this is what I responded. Perhaps it is. And perhaps the conditioning that my brain got needs washing. Right? Brainwashing may not be a bad thing in this situation. It's not mind control from an outside force. It's reconciling conditioned thinking that lies to me, that lies to me about you, that makes us separate from one another and creates an experience of hell that can only be reconciled by understanding our unity with each other, by understanding the harmonious operation of one. And so that is the activity of law. Every thought is a prayer acted upon by law. Every single thought. When it's talking about it acts upon our word, it's not talking about the audible words that come out of our mouth. It's talking about the beliefs, the words, even in the silence of our own thoughts. Words are representative of ideas, of beliefs, of desire. That's what law is acting on. And every word is a prayer, whether we utter it out loud or whether we utter it silently, whether we're aware of it or not. Thus, the whole concept of hidden beliefs. Right? But what I have found to be absolutely true is that what I experience in life is the activity of law mirroring back to me with absolute perfection and accuracy what I'm believing into it. Not necessarily I, the individualized I, but what humanity is believing is being acted upon by law. And in the truth of oneness, whatever's there belongs to all of us, and each and every one of us has the power to heal by shifting those beliefs. I wonder sometimes what it would be like if we leaned into our agency and our power. How quickly we would right this ship. So I'm going to read those first two paragraphs. Good morning, Titus Gunter. I'm going to read those and take us into our time of meditation. The power that is within you is the power of your word operated upon by law. The power is not so much a will as it is a willingness. You will never have to will things to happen. You will merely have to know that they are happening. This law is neutral and impersonal. You are not to think of it as though it were the same as spirit, but merely as a mechanical force which you may use for definite purposes. It is within you, and, as the law of cause and effect, reacts to your word. This law is the way or creative medium by which your word is manifested. But this law, as an aspect of God, is an all-powerful medium. And so let's take that into our time of meditation and contemplation. So I breathe into this moment, recognizing it is the breath of God, the breath of life, the breath of creation, the breath of the divine breathing itself as me. As I recognize this one, I recognize that it simply has always been. Created out of nothing, it is self-existent within itself. Having no beginning, it can have no end. It simply is the eternal isness, the eternal presence of this singular substance out of which all is created. Whether we call it God, the quantum field, energy, the great mystery, it is beyond what can be named. It is nameless. It is changeless. Changeless because it already is infinite possibility, expressing individualized in multiplicity. No two expressions of itself alike, expanding its experience of itself, expanding its expression of itself, the formed and the unformed, the seen and the unseen. All this one. And recognizing that this one singular source is the source of all creation. I recognize that I must be made out of it, that I am eternally unified with it, within it, as it, that I live in unification with every expression of it, that there is no separation, that it is impossible to separate because there is nowhere to separate to. This one being everywhere present, being all there is. There's no secondary place to go to. And so I speak my word, claiming and affirming a renewed experience of the wholeness of creation. A renewed experience that every interaction is an interaction of the divine with the divine, of God with God, the self with the self, creation with creation, whatever we call it. That every interaction is an interaction with the infinite, expressing itself individualized. That differences never create separation. And wholeness, unity, oneness never creates sameness. That we are each individualized, that creation is diverse by design, that it is diversity expressed. So I speak my word, lifting up the very idea and experience of diversity. The preciousness of the infinite expressing individualized. And I meet it with curiosity, with openness, with awe and wonder, seeing beyond appearances, seeing beyond behavior, to the core, to the essence, to that connecting common source that we all are. And I interact with that, the self interacting with the self. God interacting with God. Love interacting with love. Peace with peace. And I am grateful. I am grateful for this mechanical operation of law that responds exactly the same to anybody and everybody, regardless of condition, regardless of stations in life, regardless of anything. Because it is responding to itself. It is that doer within the creative process that simply does its job, does what it's created to do, which is to create, to receive the ideas, the desires of consciousness, to be and make it so. So there is no questioning, there is no filtering, there is no favoritism. There is simply the activity of law responding yes to every desire within itself to express. And I celebrate that there's no waiting period. That as quickly as the desire comes into awareness, it comes into manifestation. And so knowing this, I release any thought, any barrier, any doubt, any fear, any belief that would in any way diminish my full experience of the brilliance of life expressing. I let it all go. And I step fully, vulnerably, openly into the activity of this day to see, to feel, to be, to know, to experience infinite possibility unfolding as every expression of life. To live in awe and wonder of each moment, knowing that the will of creation is simply to create. Ashe. Shalom. Aho. Amin. Amen. And so it is. Namaste.